Yeah, hi, Hazel. Yeah, I'm peeking into Christopher's house right now. Oh, he's throwing a formal, fancy-schmancy dinner party with all his hoity-toity guests. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Very ritzy. Must be nice to live the good life. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Huh? What do you mean? How dare you? I am not jealous because I wasn't invited. Besides, I have a previous engagement. Court. Do you want your home to look like you live the good life, but your budget is holding you back? Today on the Christopher Lowell Show, we'll explore some affordable ways to spruce up your living space. What about the restraining order, Hazel? So what? It says I have to stay 30 yards from Christopher's house. Can I help it if I didn't have a tape measure? Please.
Hello, everybody. I'm Christopher Lowell. You know, I just love reading a good book while listening to good music, while perhaps sipping a good wine. Ah, the good life. Living in luxury, fine furnishings, fabulous clothes. Today we're celebrating the good life. We're admiring great objects of desire, dreaming of those extraordinary details that say rich, rich, rich. Today, we celebrate artists who have used their imaginations and have taken their crafts from the gallery to the home. Today we pay homage to opulence and quality. The expression, you get what you pay for, totally applies today. We'll take you on a tour where jewelry for the home is an extraordinary expression. We'll visit an amazing chateau in Colorado, and we'll dream a little. It's all about those fussy, fabulous things that make you feel so amazingly pampered. Yeah, enough of that. Okay. Born, our first guest, a child of two artists, he grew up in a household that celebrated the imagination. His career as a fine jewelry designer ultimately led him into the world of art, where form, function, and beauty merged. His extraordinary sculptural furniture is as at home in a museum as it would be in your own home. Please welcome artist, sculptor, and designer, John Suttman. Hi, John, how are you?
Hello.
Your work is just gorgeous. How did you get started doing this?
Well, I was a jeweler, and I got tired of making jewelry and wanted to do things that were larger and functional. So.
I see. In the jewelry business, what kind of jewelry did you do? Was your jewelry reminiscent of the furniture that we're going to see here today?
It started to get that way. I started building perfume bottles and candlesticks and so forth and so on. So it sort of evolved that way. It's just a scale thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do these pieces begin?
Just you get ideas.
Yeah.
Are you talking about technically? Or?
Yeah, technically. I mean, does it start with a sketch?
Yeah, I draw little cartoons. I have ideas. I make little cartoons on napkins and or...
So you doodle?
Beds. I doodle.
You doodle?
I doodle a lot.
Let's take a look, actually, at this first piece. This is as much a sculpture as it is a piece of furniture. Is that the idea, to blend both of those concepts together?
This is really just a piece of sculpture. I mean, it has no function other than that.
Well, it has a little drawer down here.
Well, it has a door, yeah.
Little door. What's this piece called?
It's called Dreaming.
Dreaming. So we see a little cloud piece up here. What is this material?
This is steel.
Steel.
Stainless steel, and the hand is silver-plated bronze. And the reason it has a door, I wanted it to have sort of a mysterious quality. It doesn't really serve a purpose, but I just wanted this interior space.
This is great too, this hand in the center. So it is like sort of like the opening of a night gallery, a little bit, where you're sort of looking through the... And then it sits on a pedestal. Here again, is this the same material as this?
It's all the same material. They're just patinas, different colored patinas on the metal.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the next one. This is sort of like something from Toontown. I love this flair. Talk to me about this piece.
Well, some of the pieces are actually, they're inspired by cartoons. I mean, I grew up watching Betty Boop and,
Isn't that interesting?
Donald Duck and all that. And so some of that is actually the inspiration for these pieces, but also classical, traditional furniture. I like to play around with those ideas.
These open this way, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they open together inward.
This is called the Lovers.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Now this has, actually, I'm seeing areas where you can actually put shelves in
There
here.
are, yeah.
There are shelves that
Glass
actually
shelves,
go in these.
yeah.
So this is very functional as well.
Certainly.
It's being sculptural.
Certainly, the drawer is open. So
Oh, look, it's even inside it's beautiful. Oh, that's gorgeous. What kind of wood is this?
it's just cabinet-grade plywood.
With a great stain?
It's been dyed and lacquered.
So
yeah.
patinas are as important
The
to
finish is very important.
Very important.
Yeah. The finish takes almost as long as building the piece.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And how long does it take to build a whole piece altogether?
The typical piece would be a month.
A month?
Yeah.
Boy, it looks. And then this sits on this wonderful scrolled leg, which is gorgeous. Here again, this is the same material.
Again, steel.
All the way through. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Now let's take a look really quickly at a couple of things that you've done that are outside of the home. Let's talk to me about. Here's a stairwell railing that you've done here.
Yeah, this is a residence. I do, some architectural work. I do gates and stair railings, and this is just in a residence in New Mexico.
Oh, it's beautiful. Let's take a look at the next one.
This is in an architect's office in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
An extraordinary way to customize your home. Let's take a look at the next one. What is that I'm looking at there?
This is a gate.
Beautiful.
Steel and wood.
It has almost a deco flavor to it.
I like to mix up different styles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here you see, what is this that I'm looking at here?
These are the entry gates to the sculpture garden of the Albuquerque Museum.
Wow.
So they're gates.
How elaborate. Let's take a look at the next one.
This is another residence in Santa Fe.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So your imagination goes even far beyond just furniture. Let's take a look at the next one here. This is one of my favorites, I think. This is beautiful. This is so sculptural.
Kind of deco.
Very deco,
yeah.
with various planes of relief. Let's open this up and take a look inside. Very functional. There's a lot of storage here. You've got one little tiny drawer, nice little jewelry drawer, actually. Another great big drawer. I love this inside red color. It's such a surprise.
Yeah, I like to have surprises inside. This is called Pandora's Hidden Assets.
Pandora's Hidden Assets. That's great. It's just beautiful. Here again, it sits on another sort of a Queen Anne inspired leg. Very pretty. So come over here, John. We'll talk about these. Now, these almost look like what was the name of that nursery rhyme? The plate and the spoon jumped over the moon or something. They look like sort of companion pieces.
Right.
Very whimsical. So the fronts of these are these forged or?
Yeah, there's all of the sort of organic shapes are forged. The rest is, fabrication and welding and so forth.
So molds are actually made, and then these are poured?
No, it's cut.
It's all cut.
It's cut, yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now this, if I do it right, should open. There we go. And here again, shelves going here as well.
Yeah. Has adjustable shelves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is extraordinary. This is really a feat of dynamics here. How you've distorted that to that point, and yet it still works. It's just great.
Well, it's again.
It's in motion.
You want it to look like it's unstable in motion, animated. Yeah.
That's great. And our final piece here, which is again, this one opens this way. Yeah, there we go. Which is gorgeous. Very nice. Thank you so much for sharing your imagination with us. Isn't that amazing when you can think about something here and then it goes to 3D reality? Okay. Now, when we come back, more homage to opulence, from flea market to fabulous. You won't want to miss this. These are really beautiful. This is amazing. Welcome back, everybody. Today we're doing a little fantasizing. We're dreaming about living the good life. Now, as you probably already know, flea markets are perhaps one of the best places to find great bargains for the home. Because, sometimes you can cheat and make things look really expensive when they actually aren't at all. The trick is to look past the rust and the dust and imagine what the objects would look like. Now, to prove our point, we found this wrought iron bench. Now, it didn't look too great. No, nothing to write home about. Well, that is until after we got our hands on it. Now, let me show you one of the things if you don't want that lovely rusted patina look and you really want to do more of a painted look, and sometimes metals on some of these things really aren't that charming, if you know what I mean. For instance, we're going to show you with these jack supports here. This is about the condition that we found that bench that you just saw in our before picture. Not so hot, okay?
Now, we wanted more of a formal sort of French look rather than sort of an antique flea market barn Adirondacks look, if you know what I mean. Okay, so one of the products that we found that we really liked a lot is this stuff, and this stuff is called Metal Etch and Prep. Okay, this is great stuff. This is going to help you eliminate the rust when you don't want the rust. First thing you want to do, you want to take a wire brush. You really want to scrape a lot of this stuff off. Get all the big stuff off. Okay, you want to rub it. You can see right away that's starting to help a little bit. Also, sandpaper works really, really well too. Okay, you can see the powder just coming off of there. Actually, see where I'm actually getting down to some of that metal there. Let me wipe that off. Wow, see, that does a lot right there. Now you're ready to etch and prep. Okay, that's this stuff here. This stuff is then painted on, and you'll watch this stuff go to work fairly quickly. They suggest that you put this on, and you literally, at this point, let it sit overnight. It's almost like oven cleaner. It actually starts to bubble until you can actually see down here where it's beginning to bubble up a little bit. Now, the longer that stays, the less you have to do this. You can see that we're getting some real breakthrough there. Look at that. Pretty cool, huh? So literally on a big oversized object like the bench that we're working on, if you let this sit overnight, practically all you really have to do after you've done a little bit of wire brushing is just let it sit and then wipe it off and hose it down. Because the idea here is if we're going to paint the surface, we're going to prep that surface so paint will adhere to it. Let me move all of this out of the way. Okay, good stuff. I recommend that stuff. Nice thing to have in your prop closet. Okay, now here you see, this is the result of that liquid. It's all been hosed down now, and it's pretty clean now. Really ready to accept paint. First thing we want to do, just like any other surface, is we want to prime that surface. Here you see where we've actually primed the surface. This is a Rust-Oleum primer. We like Rust-Oleum because it's made specifically for outdoors and metal. And that just gets a little, okay, all the way around. Let that completely dry. And at that point, you're actually ready to paint. Let that dry for, I would say, a good 24 hours. Rust-Oleum is oil-based, okay? Then, we're using a Krylon top coat, any color you want, all right? Here again, spraying is always better. A lot of people spray way too close. You don't want to spray like this. You want to be back about that far. It's a good idea to get a big moving box or something, split it open, and make yourself a spray booth. That's what we do. It's the best way to do it. And that way you're getting a good, even mist, always working from left to right, from top to bottom. Okay, not bottom to top because you're dripping over, you know. Okay, fine. Now, something else that you can do, we have some liquid gold leaf here that you can get at just about any craft store. You'll see when we see our finished bench how we've taken and we've actually added a little embellishment to it, okay? Now this liquid gold leaf takes a minimum of 2 coats, and use it sparingly, but just that little sparkle will really give it sort of a look like forged jewelry, which is really quite nice. All right, now something else that you want to add to this now is some decoration as far as upholstery goes. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can spend a lot of money on some really fabulous fabrics. This is a great fabric. It's from the Jab collection from Stroheim and Roman, and it's just a really, really beautiful stamped velvet tapestry. Now, this is kind of pricey, this fabric. This is a real designer fabric, but I'll tell you, a fabric like this, since you're only going to use a couple of yards of it, really is going to look rich and opulent by the time you're done. Now, here's always the bottom line. If you can't afford something, you're going to have to pay for it either with money or with time. So this is a place where you pay for it with time. These kinds of projects are a great idea to sit in front of the TV and kind of do them, or talk on the phone while you're busy with your hands, because it's kind of dumb work when it's all put together, okay? So I'm going to make a very pretty little pillow here. So I'm going to start out face front. The next thing I want to do, where's my, find the end of this, there we go. Okay, then what I want to do is with a pair of scissors, I'm going to take a little trim cord. This would go obviously all the way around the pillow. And I'm going to lay this way, because it's going to get sewn in. Okay, I'm going to pin this all down. This is going to get sewn right into the inside of my pillow. The whole thing will be turned out. Now remember, when you're using a sewing machine, you always want to put your
pins in so they will easily go under the pressure foot. So you don't want to put them in this way, okay? You want to put them in this way, like so, okay? That gets pinned all the way around, all right? The next thing we want to do is get some of the seam tape. This is good old bias seam tape, which is a lot of fun to use. And then the next thing I would do then is I would want to create, come in for a border right underneath that. And I'm going to want to pin this down all the way along the edge here to create a really nice border. So I'm going to do that. Here again, this is just straight line sewing. That's all this is. This all gets pinned down to create what looks like a miter, so on and so forth. Then when we're done, you can just embellish. Here I would add, let's say, another panel in the center here, and maybe add even some more of this cording around the outside edge. And when I'm all done, I get a pillow that looks like that. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, it's real opulent looking. Here again, if you can't afford something, you got to pay for it with time. That's kind of what we're explaining here today. Let's take a look at this bench and how gorgeous this looks when it's all pulled together. Isn't this gorgeous? Now here we've also added 2 bolster pillows on both sides, and we've also added a cushion seat, and then we also, to give it more of a whimsical quality, there were tiny little finials that seemed out of scale after we put all the pillows in. So we took styrofoam balls actually, and we hot glued them after we had posted them, and we put those balls on the tops of each of the arms and the back. A little touch of gold leaf, and you are in business. Isn't that pretty? Okay, well, you've heard of jewelry for the individual? Well, how about jewelry for the home? Up next, you're invited to tag along as we take a private tour of a New York designer's gallery showroom. Yeah, right here. So stick around. Welcome back, everybody. Today we're showing you examples of what it means to be, well, living the good life. Now, if you want to dress up an outfit, what do? Well, you add a little jewelry, right? Well, if you want to dress up your home, guess what? You can do exactly the same thing. In fact, we stopped by a showroom of incredible jewelry. Well, it's actually by a jewelry designer who calls his line of decorative hardware Jewelry for the Home. Come along as we head off to New York City to visit John Landrum Bryant's gallery. At John Landrum Bryant's New York gallery, a passion for jewelry design has evolved into a line of decorative hardware worthy of the Queen Mom herself.
I call my line Jewelry for the Home because it is made in the same way, in fact, by many of the same people who make the cufflinks, the earrings, the brooches, or the necklaces that is in my jewelry line. So the way we differentiate it amongst ourselves is we say jewelry for the home or jewelry for the individual.
Nearly everything in this appointment-only showroom was designed first for John's private residence, then adapted into this collection for his exclusive clientele.
Well, I have 2 different metals in the laboratory sets and 2 different series. The ones that are in the white metal happen to be shown here in sterling silver, solid sterling silver. This is not plate. And that series is called the Jungle Pool series, and it is based with the mother animal and the baby animals in or near the water. The curved fixtures are called Jungle Arch, and the hot and cold taps echo that, whereas in the Jungle Pool series, it's the foot of the animal that is the hot and cold thing. And in fact, in these particular silver ones, which are very special and made on a special order, there is a little ruby set in the hot water tap and a little sapphire set in the cold water tap.
These sterling silver door handles were among the first John designed.
The 2 tigers that are in a sort of a yin and yang position, but I cheated. I did things that nature can't do quite, and I turned the faces out so that they look up at the person opening the door.
Many of his designs are happy accidents, like this fanciful alligator.
When I designed this particular one, the alligator was quite straight. When I got it back, the wonderful woman who had carved it had curled it up like a puppy, and it was adorable. She said, "Did I do it wrong?" I said, "No, you did it exactly right," and it was better than my design. Fantasy is, I think, the single word that could describe my design scheme. And animals are the starting point for that, because animals evoke this in us. All you have to do is watch the crowd of people at the zoo to see that age makes no difference. And I'm trying to bring a little bit of that in kind of a, albeit frozen form, into the homes of the people who take my design, so that there is always a sense of movement in the animal, even though it's on a doorknob or on a sink.
Just goes to show you, if you got the bucks, you can pay a lot for just about anything. Extraordinary work, though, don't you think? Love the little cubs and the lion thing. Very cool. All right, you've heard of heart and soul? Well, when we come back, we're going to meet a lady who's going to explain how to add those magical ingredients to any home. What? Oh, you thought it was a song. Who knew? Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're paying homage to opulence. You can create a room using all the money in the world, but let me tell you something. If there ain't no soul, there ain't no home. It's just a space. Our next guest is here to explain how to achieve that special quality that transforms any residence into a personal sanctuary. She's an award-winning architect and author of Creating the Not-So-Big House, Insights and Ideas for the New American Home. Let's welcome Sarah Susanka. How are you? Welcome back, darling.
Good to see you, Christopher.
You know what? This has been such a popular subject about how we are reconfiguring and taking a brand new look at homes and how they're laid out as we have changed as an American society. In fact, it is so sensational. I understand that you're even working on a TV series based on that.
That's correct.
That's terrific. It's a great subject. The book is called Creating the Not-So-Big House. Tell me the overall philosophy about this book.
Well, basically, the idea is that we need to take a look at how we're using our square footage. Mm-hmm. And most of us are building bigger and bigger and bigger, and yet it's rather bland square footage. So
absolutely.
Instead of
wasted space.
A lot of wasted space. Mm-hmm. So instead of making more square footage, how about reapportioning the dollars we spend in our houses, taking some square footage out and putting those dollars into the things that really make a house into a home?
Let's go inside the book and take a look at some of the things that you're talking about here. Love that. I think that's so much fun. The sort of rope thing, which is great.
Absolutely, yeah. Now this obviously is an unusual way to do a railing and a column detail, but we've got some natural materials.
Great bookcase area up here.
Absolutely, and we're creating a sense of the natural in the man-made.
What's interesting about this, I think, is that this is very little real estate here.
That's correct.
Takes up very, very little footprint, yet we have a focal point, foreground element. We have a nice sweep here. We have area to put a full tree here. We have a nice twist up the stairs and storage all in the same little area. It's almost like living on a boat. You know, we have to make every little inch count.
And it's leading your eye up the stair, if you notice, with the rope.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Next one, please. Here again, I love this idea. A lot of people don't think of interrupting a large opening by building out into that opening, which I think is a terrific idea. Exactly. Oftentimes, people would just leave this, and this would just be pass-through space. It's a wasted space.
That's right. And one of the things that I point out in this image is that by framing an opening so that you add trim, if I can use your technique here, where you see trim here, and there's also trim around here, that you end up with a shape that directs your eye. And if you don't put those in, you don't know that there is any separation between one place and the next.
And basically what you're doing, you're also adding charm and architecture all at the same time. And back in this area that you can't see here is a eat-in nook.
An eating nook, exactly.
Which is terrific. Yeah. I've always told people, if you build wall-to-wall, you get more space than if you put 2 chairs there.
Exactly, you really do.
Let's look at the next one, please. Loved this idea. I thought this was a great way to break space.
Yeah. Now, this is a similar idea of this framing and opening again. If you were to not have that sort of implied doorway there, it would be much more amorphous space. It wouldn't have any character to it.
Exactly.
But this is very simple to do.
So this not only adds architect, but it's visually stimulating without taking up space.
That's right. And it also doesn't block the view, if you'll notice.
And, you know, you could put Chachi up here if you wanted to.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Great use of space here, too. Oftentimes we have these are two separate rooms.
Right.
What I like about this is it actually encourages you to use that for more than a dining room.
Exactly. This is a wonderful house, in fact, in that it connects views from one space to the next. So if you can see from the kitchen here to the eating area right here, you can see all the way through the space.
Right.
And in seeing those visual connections, you start to use all the spaces in the house.
I love this idea, too, where the window literally is in the pass-through areas, making it much more interesting.
Absolutely.
So this window is actually shared by both rooms.
Exactly.
It's a very economic use of light.
That's right.
Take a look at the next one. And the storage there, of course, is terrific. Now, I like this because, we're always talking about if you can't build out, build up. And I think one of the problems that many people have is what to do with their collections.
Yes,
and
this is a wonderful example. This is actually a tiny little house, too.
Is it really? It seems huge.
A lot of the photographs are challenging. When you're photographing small space, you have to use a wide-angle lens,
sure.
And so it looks bigger than it really is. But this house has a marvelous charm to it that's this couple have really imprinted themselves on the house with their collections, and these are also used every day.
Obviously, they are going for a Western motif, but what I think is so amazing is the work that's been done here is reminiscent. It's basically a scaled-down barn.
It's a barn, and it's an arcade, too, if you think of some of the European walkways in front of stores, etc.
You know, it's interesting. You have to look at these things and pare away the architecture to look at what the bones really were.
That's right.
And the bones were nothing.
That's right.
It was basically walking into nothing.
Exactly.
Let's take a look at the next one. Here's a great color sculpting. You know, oftentimes we forget about what wall color will do to enhance the architecture of an environment.
That's right, and it really draws forth that shape of the dormer there.
Yeah.
And also, I loved in this
image. Imagine that white.
Yes, exactly.
Who cares?
It disappears then.
Yeah.
I loved the use also in the railing. You'll notice there's wood and then white pickets that really add a lot of personality to the railing itself.
It ties these two elements together. It gives you a foreground and the background elements together.
That's
terrific.
Right.
Let's take a look at the next one. I love the idea here about the interrupted space.
Exactly. There's a wonderful sense of what architects and interior designers call layering.
Yes.
Where you can see through something.
You know, we learned that in the theater. And I didn't hear that term until many years later. We learned that in order to take a box called the theater stage, in order to give the impression that it was its own world, we were always working to create back hallways that were lit, backdrops beyond them, to give you a sense of dimension.
And you know from the theater that makes people feel as though there's a lot more distance
Exactly.
there. And that's the technique that architects use to make a smaller space feel bigger.
And a lot of times people think by employing those illusions in their home that it's going to feel gimmicky, when the reality of it is it doesn't matter if it's not real. If it works, it works.
It makes it feel larger. And so a lot of what I'm trying to describe with the Not So Big House is just that you can actually use a smaller space but make it feel 2 or 3 times the size of what you thought you needed.
So it's a matter of focusing not on the real estate but on the function.
You've got it.
Okay, let's take a look at the next one. I love the use of the ore here, which I thought was so cool, and the corrugated tin.
Isn't it? This house is actually a marvelous medley of materials. And very clever. Again, a tiny little house where the architect and his wife, who's an interior designer, really collaborated to make a very wonderful composition.
And I think this is the perfect illustration of layering in a still life. You've got this layered against this, layered against this, and then your foreground element of that all working in unison together. Let's look at the next one. Here again, still lifes, color. I loved this idea.
Isn't it clever?
I thought that was so fabulous.
This is actually the same house, and it's a 24 by 24 foot footprint. It's tiny. And
it's like a peeking crack.
It is. Yeah. And this house has this, actually this piece right here is behind it is the refrigerator, and it's like a big column.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
And so it just divides the space from dining, kitchen, and living. That's all there is, but it makes it feel much bigger, not smaller.
I also notice, I mean, obviously for photography purposes, but something that people forget about in these small spaces, lighting is so key.
It's critical.
When the sun goes down, lighting can completely transform. You see spotlight here.
Exactly.
You see recessed light here. You see under cabinet lights here. Very beautiful.
It brings it to life.
Well, I could do this all day, so I'm going to have to watch your show now.
That's right.
Best of luck.
Thank you
Best of luck
so
with your
much,
new series.
Christopher.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Sarah.
it.
Please come back, will you? Well, she's probably going to get too big for her britches now. Okay.
When we come back, we're going to take a house tour that you won't want to miss. Think French, think fabulous, think, well, you are going to stick around. Just think, come back. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Today we are showing you examples of the good life. Now, the lady of the house that you are about to tour certainly knows all about that, except the good life for her has a little twist, a French twist, that is. She's a noted designer and author of French by Design. So come along as we head off to Vail, Colorado for a tour of Betty Lou Phillips' home. Though it may be hard to believe, this chateau is far from the stone farmhouses of Provence, France. It's the Beaver Creek, Colorado home of French country design expert Betty Lou Phillips. In her books, she goes into great detail about the intricacies of French interior design.
I love the graceful lines, the warmth, the comfort. What appeals to me most is the French effortless way of the design, their flair for living well, and their dedication to quality and heritage and history.
This attention to comfortable luxury continues upstairs in the master bed and bath.
King-size beds are a rarity in fine Parisian hotels, but I like to use them wherever possible. The billowy bed skirt, the table skirt, the pillows on the day bed, they all just add a feeling of luxury. And that's what we wanted to offer, I guess, the feeling of luxury. I love that bathtub. It's incredible. It's carved out of a single piece of marble. The pharmacy chest is from France. It is circa 1850, and it is a wonderful place for us to store amenities for guests. It was found actually in a flea market in Atlanta.
Accessorizing the home with antiques is another important touch of French country design. In almost every room of Betty Lou's home, you'll find a touch of the past.
A house that doesn't have a sense of history is meaningless for the French. The candlesticks that are on the mantels were found in antique stores. The chandeliers that were found in San Francisco but actually came from a hotel in Albion. I feel as if even in rooms that are filled with antiques, that, like here, children's books, toys, puzzles can be scattered among the collectibles, and that makes a room more comfortable because it lessens the seriousness of the spaces.
A discovery from a French restaurant found a perfect home in the breakfast room.
The chalkboard is actually from France. It was in an old bistro, and I thought initially that I would use it in a wine room, but didn't have the space here to do so. So instead, used it in the breakfast room and had a graphic designer go ahead and print a menu that we came up with that was fitting for our family.
Betty Lou's breakfast room is the setting for the most important element of French country style, family.
I think that having the breakfast room, the kitchen, is an asset in any house. Although our children are grown, when young children are here and we're cooking, we still have them within eyes view, and that's important. I think that in our home there's something for everyone. For our grown children, there's a game room. The younger children, there is a space where they have their computers, their TV, their video games.
There's no doubt that family is a priority in this home. Just peek into some of Betty Lou's guest rooms and see for yourself.
The rooms were designed with specific family members in mind, mostly because their personalities are all different and the interests that they have vary.
Look around this house and you'll see images of loved ones everywhere. Betty Lou's home is a true testament to her love of design and her family.
In truth, I think it's hard to not fall under the influence of the French, who do everything so well and who are so interested in having comfort be paramount in their lives, in addition to their family and friends.
Isn't that a fabulous place? Could you die? And we'll talk about all those flea market finds. Some of her real flea market finds are real treasures. Oh, and I love the idea of that vintage chalkboard over the eating area. I think that's pretty cool, too. Now, if your idea of the good life means a lot of marble statues and columns, well, you're in luck. But up next, we're going to show you how you can have that marble column and statues without breaking the bank or your back. So stick around.